Benedict Cumberbatch, a name that resonates globally for his iconic roles in films and television series like Sherlock, Doctor Strange, and so much more, isn't just celebrated for his sheer acting talent. There's a profound depth to his character that goes well beyond the screen, a dimension that leaves us all wondering, what really makes this man tick? Beneath all the cinematic magic lies something more human, more spiritual, more real, an affinity for Buddhism that shapes not just the way he acts but the way he lives. Have you ever wondered what makes someone shine so brightly without being consumed by the glare of fame? Perhaps, with Cumberbatch, the answer lies in his connection to something timeless and profound. If you found inspiration in Benedict's journey, subscribe to our channel for more insights into the lives of extraordinary individuals, early encounters with Buddhism. Imagine being a young adult in your early 20s, standing at a crossroads in life. You're supposed to be moving ahead with your studies or getting your career started, but something inside you says, pause. There's something more to understand here. Benedict Cumberbatch experienced precisely this when he took a break from the typical path to go teach English at a Tibetan monastery in Darjeeling, India. This wasn't just an adventurous gap year. No, it was a turning point, a pivotal moment when he began to see beyond the surface of the world and into something deeper. Living among Tibetan monks, whose days were filled with quiet contemplation and acts of compassion, Cumberbatch was immersed in a way of life that seemed the complete opposite of the Western hustle. The monks lived simply, with a dignity that didn't need the validation of the external world. Could you imagine being surrounded by people whose contentment comes not from material gains but from just being? It's as if the whole world slows down, and in that stillness, you find a part of yourself you didn't even know was missing. This experience, this immersion, became the foundation upon which Cumberbatch would build not just his career but his way of being. The time at the monastery was about more than just learning meditation techniques. It was about learning how to be still, how to listen, not just to the world, but to himself. In a way, we all seek that kind of clarity, don't we? Moments that force us to pause and reconsider, what do we really want out of life? For Cumberbatch, these moments were transformative, giving him insights into compassion, mindfulness, and the importance of living in the present. Isn't that something we could all use a little more of, being here, now, instead of always racing ahead? The impact of Tibetan monastic life on Cumberbatch. To understand the depth of influence that living among Tibetan monks had on Cumberbatch, it's important to dive deeper into what the monastic lifestyle represents. Tibetan monasteries are not just places of religious worship, they are communities dedicated to the pursuit of wisdom, compassion, and the cessation of suffering. The monks there lead lives defined by a strict schedule of meditation, study, prayer, and community service. For a young Cumberbatch, witnessing firsthand the simplicity and purposefulness of their lives must have been eye-opening. Imagine waking up every morning before dawn, not to the sound of an alarm clock but to the distant ringing of bells calling for morning meditation. The air is cold, crisp, and the silence feels almost tangible. Cumberbatch would join the monks in their daily routines, learning the value of ritual and the importance of starting the day with intention. The time spent in quiet contemplation, in being present with his thoughts and observing them without attachment, would form the bedrock of his later practice of mindfulness. The humility of monastic life was a stark contrast to the world of fame and entertainment that Cumberbatch would later navigate. In a society that often equates self-worth with achievements and possessions, the monks taught him the beauty of letting go. In letting go of ego, of attachments, and of the constant need to be somebody, they found peace. And it was this peace that Cumberbatch was so drawn to, a sense of calm that would stay with him long after he left Darjeeling. He learned that true happiness does not come from external success but from an internal sense of well-being, a lesson that would guide him through the ups and downs of his career. The teachings of compassion, of seeing oneself in others and others in oneself, were also deeply ingrained in the monastic lifestyle. Cumberbatch often speaks of the monks' gentle demeanor, of their kindness and the sense of community that bound them together. Compassion was not just a concept but a way of life, a way of interacting with others and approaching each situation with an open heart. This experience profoundly shaped Cumberbatch's approach to his craft, allowing him to bring a sense of empathy and connection to the characters he portrayed. Meditation and mindfulness practices. One of the most beautiful gifts that Buddhism gave Cumberbatch is meditation. Not as a ritual, but as a way of life, a way to breathe through the chaos. For someone constantly in the public eye, where every move is scrutinized and every word analyzed, meditation has become his refuge. Imagine being able to step away from the world, even if just for a few moments, to return to yourself. This practice gives Cumberbatch a kind of balance, an anchor amidst the storms of fame and expectation. He's often shared how meditation helps him cope with the anxieties that come with his profession. Think about it, transforming yourself entirely into different characters, dealing with the expectations of millions of fans, and the never-ending glare of the media. It can all be so exhausting. Meditation for him is not just a tool, it's a sanctuary, a sacred place where he can let go and breathe. And perhaps this is why he's able to bring such authenticity to his roles. When you watch him on screen, you don't just see an actor, you see a person who is that character, who has the presence and focus to be fully immersed, yet is also detached enough not to be consumed. Isn't that balance something we're all striving for in our own lives? The science of mindfulness and its impact on performance. Delving deeper into the role that mindfulness plays in Cumberbatch's life, it's fascinating to consider how meditation actually changes the brain. Neuroscientific studies have shown that regular meditation can increase the density of gray matter in areas of the brain associated with emotional regulation, self-referential processing, and perspective-taking. For an actor like Cumberbatch, who must constantly shift between identities and embody the emotions of others, these changes are not just beneficial, they're transformative. Mindfulness helps to quiet the constant chatter of the mind, the inner critic that questions whether you're good enough, the part of you that worries about what others think. For Cumberbatch, this quieting of the mind allows him to be fully present, to give himself over entirely to the character he is portraying. Imagine having the ability to completely immerse yourself in a task, yet remain emotionally distant enough that you're not overwhelmed by it. This is what meditation has given Cumberbatch, a tool to navigate not just the roles he plays, but the pressures of life itself. The practice of mindfulness also enhances one's ability to empathize, to step into someone else's shoes, a skill that is crucial for any actor. Cumberbatch has often spoken about how meditation has made him more aware of his own emotions and more sensitive to the emotions of those around him. This heightened emotional intelligence allows him to portray characters with a depth and nuance that is truly compelling. He's mentioned in interviews how his practice of mindfulness helps him handle the highs and lows of fame, providing a steady ground when things get too intense. In a sense, it's as if meditation gives him a superpower, the ability to step back, to observe, and to be fully present without losing himself. The role of meditation in building resilience. In the high-pressure world of acting, resilience is key. The ability to bounce back from setbacks, to keep going despite rejection, criticism, or personal challenges, is what separates those who succeed from those who burn out. Meditation has been shown to build resilience by reducing the impact of stress and increasing one's ability to cope with difficult emotions. For Cumberbatch, meditation is a way of cultivating inner strength, a strength that is not about putting on a brave face, but about accepting the reality of each moment with grace and equanimity. This resilience is evident in his career. Acting is an industry filled with uncertainty, auditions that lead nowhere, roles that don't quite resonate, projects that fail to take off. And then there is the constant scrutiny, the public judgment of one's work and one's character. Meditation provides Cumberbatch with the tools to navigate these challenges without losing himself. It's a practice that teaches him to let go of what he cannot control, to focus on what is within his power, and to approach each situation with an open heart and a calm mind. Isn't that something we could all benefit from, a way to face the ups and downs of life without being tossed around by every wave? Compassion and empathy in his roles. A core tenet of Buddhism is compassion, that genuine care for all beings. When we watch Cumberbatch, Whether as Alan Turing in The Imitation Game or Doctor Strange, there's always a depth of empathy that shines through. He's not merely portraying a character, he's inviting us to feel their struggles, their hopes, and their humanity. Take Alan Turing, for example, a brilliant man who contributed immensely to shortening World War II, yet was persecuted for being gay. Cumberbatch portrayed Turing not just as a genius, but as a vulnerable human being, filled with pain and longing. Through his portrayal, we are forced to confront our own biases and prejudices. How often do we judge without understanding? Watching Cumberbatch as Turing compels us to look beyond the surface and feel compassion for those who may be different from us. In Turing, Cumberbatch found a role that wasn't just about intellect, it was about vulnerability, about isolation, and about the quiet strength it takes to keep going when the world doesn't accept you. Isn't that something we all struggle with, in one way or another? The desire to be seen, to be understood, even when the world seems determined to misunderstand us? Through Cumberbatch's portrayal, we feel Turing's pain, his brilliance, and ultimately, his humanity. And isn't that the true power of storytelling, to help us connect? To see ourselves in others, the Buddhist concept of compassion in acting, in Buddhism, compassion, or karuna, is not just about feeling pity for someone else's suffering, it's about recognizing our shared humanity and wishing for the alleviation of that suffering. This idea of compassion is central to Cumberbatch's approach to acting. He doesn't judge his characters, even those with significant flaws. Instead, he approaches each one with empathy, seeking to understand what drives them, what fears or desires lie beneath their actions. This is evident in his portrayal of Julian Assange in The Fifth Estate. Assange is a polarizing figure, someone who has been both lauded as a champion of transparency and vilified as a threat to national security. Cumberbatch's portrayal of Assange was nuanced, showing both his brilliance and his arrogance, his dedication to his cause and the personal sacrifices that came with it. By approaching Assange with compassion, Cumberbatch was able to present a more complex and human version of the man, one that allowed audiences to form their own opinions, rather than being told what to think. Compassion in acting also means being present with your scene partners, truly listening and responding to them rather than simply delivering lines. This level of presence requires vulnerability. It means opening yourself up to the other person, allowing their emotions to affect you. For Cumberbatch, this is where the magic of acting lies, in the connection between actors. In the give and take, the flow of emotion that happens when two people are fully present with each other. It's a form of mindfulness, of being here, now, with another human being, and it's what allows him to create such authentic and moving performances. The concept of detachment in handling fame, one of the most challenging aspects of fame is not letting it define you. Cumberbatch, like many others, finds himself constantly in the spotlight, yet he manages to keep a healthy distance from it. How? Through the concept of detachment, something deeply rooted in Buddhism. Fame is fleeting, it's impermanent, and to attach oneself to it would be to invite suffering. How easy it would be to get caught up in the adoration. To let it shape your identity. But Cumberbatch knows better. He's aware of the transitory nature of it all and chooses to live simply, valuing the person he is, not the image that the world projects onto him. This awareness of impermanence, this understanding that everything is in constant flux, is what allows him to navigate the ups and downs of his career with grace. Doesn't it make you wonder, how would our lives change if we, too, could let go of our need for external validation? If we could just be, without attaching our worth to how others perceive us. Detachment as a source of freedom. The Buddhist concept of detachment, or upekkha, is often misunderstood. It's not about being indifferent or uncaring, it's about letting go of the need to control outcomes. Of clinging to things that are ultimately beyond our control. For Cumberbatch, this detachment provides a sense of freedom. He's not driven by the need to be liked or the fear of being criticized. Instead, he focuses on what he can control, his craft, his relationships, his values. Think about the nature of fame, it's like a wave, rising and falling, always in motion. One moment you're adored, the next, criticized. If you attach your sense of self to that wave, you're bound to be tossed around, to suffer when the tide turns. Cumberbatch, through his practice of detachment, has found a way to ride the wave without being consumed by it. He's often spoken about the importance of keeping a sense of perspective, of not letting the praise or the criticism define who he is. Isn't that a lesson we could all benefit from? To remember that who we are is not determined by what others think of us, but by how we choose to live, how we choose to respond. Detachment also means letting go of the ego, the part of us that craves attention, validation, and recognition. In an industry that often feeds the ego, that encourages actors to see themselves as stars, and to measure their worth by their success, Cumberbatch's ability to remain humble is remarkable. He sees acting not as a means to gain fame but as a way to explore the human condition, to tell stories that matter. This focus on the work itself, rather than on the accolades that come with it, is what allows him to stay grounded. Compassion in action, humanitarian efforts. Buddhism teaches that compassion isn't just a feeling, it's an action. And Cumberbatch embodies this principle through his humanitarian work. He has been a vocal advocate for issues such as the refugee crisis, LGBTQ rights, and environmental conservation. His involvement isn't just superficial, it's deeply personal. In 2015, he actively raised awareness about the Syrian refugee crisis, even fundraising and urging others to contribute. Doesn't this remind you of the Buddhist concept of interconnectedness? That the suffering of others is, in some way, connected to our own? Cumberbatch's compassion goes beyond words. He's used his platform to make a real difference, to draw attention to issues that are often overlooked. His advocacy for refugees, for instance, is not just about raising money, it's about raising awareness, about reminding us all of our shared humanity. How often do we turn away from the suffering of others because it feels too overwhelming, too distant? Cumberbatch's actions challenge us to look, to care, to act. Isn't that what true compassion is about? Seeing the suffering of others and doing what we can to help, no matter how small. The Bodhisattva ideal and humanitarian work. In Mahayana Buddhism, the Bodhisattva is someone who seeks enlightenment not just for themselves, but for the benefit of all beings. They are motivated by compassion and the desire to alleviate the suffering of others. Cumberbatch's humanitarian efforts can be seen as embodying this ideal. He uses his fame, his platform, to shine a light on issues that need attention, to give a voice to those who are often unheard. Consider his work with Save the Children, or his advocacy for gender equality and LGBTQ rights. These are not issues that directly affect him, but he recognizes that his privilege gives him the opportunity, and the responsibility, to help others. This is the essence of the Bodhisattva path, using one's own resources, talents, and abilities to make a positive difference in the world. It's about recognizing that our own well-being is tied to the well-being of others, that we cannot be truly happy while others suffer. Cumberbatch's approach to humanitarian work is not about seeking recognition or praise, it's about doing what is right, about acting from a place of compassion. He's often said that fame is something he feels a sense of responsibility for, that it should be used for something meaningful. This perspective is deeply aligned with Buddhist teachings, which emphasize the importance of right action, of acting in ways that contribute to the welfare of others. Balancing career and spirituality. Balancing a demanding acting career with a dedication to spirituality is no small feat. Yet Cumberbatch seems to have found a way to integrate both aspects of his life harmoniously. His approach to acting is infused with mindfulness and authenticity. It's not just about delivering lines, it's about presence, about being there in every moment. Isn't that what we all strive for in our own lives, to be fully present in whatever we do, no matter how mundane or extraordinary? His career choices also reflect his spiritual values. He's selective about the roles he takes, preferring projects that resonate on a deeper level, stories that explore the intricacies of the human condition. This careful selection is akin to the Buddhist concept of skillful means, acting in ways that contribute to the welfare of all beings. His work becomes a form of service, a means to help others understand, to feel, and perhaps, to heal. The role of mindfulness in acting, at its core, is about being present, about stepping into the shoes of another person, experiencing their world, and conveying that experience to an audience. For Cumberbatch, mindfulness is not just a practice that he engages in during meditation, it's a fundamental part of his approach to acting. When he takes on a role, he immerses himself fully in the character, letting go of his own thoughts and emotions and allowing the character's reality to take over. This level of immersion requires a deep sense of presence. It's about being fully in the moment, about responding to the other actors, to the environment, to the unfolding drama, without the interference of the mind's chatter. Mindfulness allows Cumberbatch to quiet his own ego, to let go of the need to perform, and instead to simply be. This authenticity is what makes his performances so compelling. It's not about showing off his acting skills, but about genuinely embodying the character and telling their story. Mindfulness also helps Cumberbatch deal with the demands of his career. The long hours, the emotional intensity, the pressure to deliver, all of these can be overwhelming. By practicing mindfulness, he's able to stay grounded, to take each moment as it comes, without getting caught up in worries about the future or regrets about the past. It's a way of staying balanced, of maintaining a sense of inner peace. Even in the midst of chaos, influence on personal relationships, Buddhism has also influenced how Cumberbatch relates to others. He's known for his kindness and for treating everyone, whether they are his co-stars or the crew, with respect. Isn't that what we all crave? To be seen, to be heard, to be treated with genuine kindness? In an age of constant distractions, Cumberbatch's commitment to being fully present in his interactions is a beautiful reminder of the importance of mindful relationships. He's often spoken about the importance of being present with his family, of making time for those who matter most. In a world where we are constantly pulled in 1,000 different directions, where our attention is divided between screens and notifications, the ability to be fully present with another person is a rare and precious gift. Cumberbatch's dedication to mindfulness extends beyond his work. It's a part of how he lives, how he loves, how he connects. Isn't that something we could all learn from? To put down our phones, to look each other in the eye, to truly listen. Mindfulness and deep listening. One of the practices that Cumberbatch has embraced is the practice of deep listening, a form of mindful communication that involves giving your full attention to the person you are speaking with, without judgment, without thinking about what you're going to say next. In our fast-paced world, deep listening is a rare gift, but it's one that can transform our relationships. For Cumberbatch, deep listening is a way of showing respect and compassion for others. Whether he's on set, working with other actors, or at home with his family, he strives to be fully present, to listen not just with his ears but with his heart. This level of presence creates a space where others feel safe, where they feel valued and understood. Isn't that what we all want, to be truly heard, to be seen for who we are? Deep listening also enhances his performances. Acting is, after all, a form of communication. It's about connecting with the other actors, with the audience, and with the character. By practicing deep listening, Cumberbatch is able to respond authentically to the other actors, to react not based on what he thinks should happen, but based on what is actually happening in the moment. This authenticity is what makes his performances so powerful. It's not just about delivering lines, it's about truly connecting. The role of mindfulness in parenting. Cumberbatch is also a father, and it's evident that his spiritual practices have influenced his approach to parenting. In interviews, he's mentioned how important it is for him to be present with his children, to share moments of genuine connection. Parenting, after all, is one of the most challenging and rewarding roles one can take on. It requires patience, understanding, and a deep well of compassion, all qualities that are cultivated through mindfulness and meditation. Imagine trying to juggle a successful acting career, humanitarian work, and the demands of family life. It's not easy, and yet Cumberbatch approaches it with a sense of calm and presence that speaks to his dedication to mindfulness. He understands that being a father isn't just about providing for his children, it's about being there for them, about creating an environment where they feel loved, heard, and understood. Isn't that what every child needs? A parent who is truly there, in every sense of the word. Through mindfulness, Cumberbatch finds the balance between work and family, between the demands of his career and the needs of his children. It's a delicate balance, but one that he navigates with grace. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all, that no matter how busy, how demanding life gets, there is always time to be present, to be mindful, to connect with those we love. Mindful parenting, teaching by example. Mindful parenting is not just about being present with your children, it's about modeling the behaviors and values that you want them to learn. Cumberbatch's commitment to mindfulness, to compassion, and to authenticity is something that his children will learn, and not just through his words, but through his actions. By seeing their father approach life with a sense of curiosity, openness, and kindness, they, too, will learn to value these qualities. Parenting is often described as one of the most profound spiritual practices because it challenges us to grow in ways we never imagined. It requires us to let go of our egos, to put someone else's needs before our own, and to be fully present in the moment. For Cumberbatch, mindfulness is a way of navigating the challenges of parenting with grace, of finding joy in the small moments, and of being the kind of father he wants to be. Personal growth through Buddhist philosophy. Benedict Cumberbatch's engagement with Buddhism has had a profound effect on his personal growth and the way he approaches challenges in life. The teachings of impermanence, non-attachment, and compassion have provided him with a framework for understanding and navigating the vicissitudes of life. He has often spoken about the importance of maintaining perspective, of understanding that success, failure, praise, and criticism are all transient. This perspective helps him remain grounded in an industry where fame is often fickle, and where the highs can be exhilarating, but the lows can be equally devastating. Impermanence as a source of wisdom. The Buddhist concept of impermanence, anicca, is one that Cumberbatch has embraced fully. In a world that often seems obsessed with permanence, with building legacies, with making a mark, Buddhism teaches that everything is in a state of constant change. This understanding of impermanence has been a source of wisdom for Cumberbatch, allowing him to navigate the inevitable ups and downs of life without becoming overly attached to either. In the acting world, where roles come and go, where one's popularity can rise and fall overnight, this understanding of impermanence is crucial. Cumberbatch knows that success is not something to cling to, just as failure is not something to fear. Both are temporary, both are part of the ebb and flow of life. By embracing impermanence, he's able to approach each role, each project, with a sense of curiosity and openness, without the pressure of needing it to define him. This perspective also helps him deal with the pressures of fame. Fame, like everything else, is impermanent. It's a wave that rises and falls, and by recognizing this, Cumberbatch is able to enjoy the ride without becoming attached to it. He understands that his worth is not determined by how famous he is, but by how he lives his life, by the values he holds, and by the relationships he nurtures. Isn't that a lesson we could all benefit from? To let go of the need to be seen, to be recognized, and instead to focus on what truly matters. Influence on career choices. Cumberbatch's Buddhist philosophy has also influenced his career choices. He's not interested in fame for fame's sake. He's interested in roles that challenge him, that push him to explore the depths of the human condition. Whether it's playing the troubled genius Alan Turing, the arrogant yet vulnerable Dr. Strange, or the complex Patrick Melrose, Cumberbatch chooses roles that resonate with him on a deeper level. These are not roles that are easy or comfortable. They are roles that require vulnerability, that require him to confront the darker aspects of human nature. Yet it is precisely this willingness to delve into the complexity of the human experience that makes his performances so powerful. He approaches each role with a sense of mindfulness, with a dedication to authenticity, and with a deep respect for the story being told. Isn't that what makes a great actor? Someone who is willing to go beyond the surface, to explore the depths, to bring a character to life in a way that is both truthful and moving. Skillful means in career choices. In Buddhism, skillful means, upaya, refers to the idea of acting in a way that is appropriate to the situation, that contributes to the welfare of others. For Cumberbatch, his career choices are a form of skillful means. He chooses roles that have the potential to make a difference, to challenge audiences, to provoke thought, or to inspire empathy. His work becomes a means of exploring important themes, of questioning societal norms, of shining a light on the struggles of those who are often marginalized, of telling stories that need to be told. Take, for example, his role as Patrick Melrose, a character dealing with the aftermath of severe childhood trauma, addiction, and the struggle for redemption. It's a role that required immense vulnerability, that forced Cumberbatch to confront the darkest aspects of human suffering. But it's also a role that sheds light on the realities of addiction, on the impact of trauma, and on the possibility of healing. By taking on roles like this, Cumberbatch uses his platform not just to entertain, but to educate, to raise awareness, to encourage empathy. Conclusion: in a world where fame can often lead to a disconnection from oneself, Benedict Cumberbatch has managed to stay grounded, to stay real. His journey into Buddhism is not just a chapter in his life, it's the thread that weaves everything together: his career, his relationships, his advocacy, and his sense of self. He teaches us that spirituality isn't something separate from the rest of life. It's there in every breath, every role, every interaction. Through his compassion, his advocacy, and his commitment to mindfulness, Cumberbatch shows us that it is possible to be successful without losing one's soul. It is possible to shine brightly without being blinded by the light. Perhaps, in watching his journey, we might find the inspiration to embark on our own, to seek a deeper connection, a greater compassion, and a more mindful way of living. What if we could all learn to let go, just a little? To find stillness in the chaos, to see beyond ourselves, and to live with just a little more love and kindness? Wouldn't the world be a better place for it? Benedict Cumberbatch's journey is one of discovery, of growth, of finding balance in a world that often feels unbalanced. His connection to Buddhism is not just a footnote in his story, it's the essence of who he is. It informs his work, his relationships, his activism, and his approach to life. It's a reminder to all of us that no matter where we are, no matter what we do, there is always room for compassion, for mindfulness, for growth. So, the next time you watch him on screen, remember, there's more to this man than meets the eye. There's a depth, a stillness, a compassion that comes from a place far beyond the bright lights of Hollywood. And perhaps, just perhaps, in watching him, we might be inspired to find a little more depth, a little more stillness, and a little more compassion in our own lives. After all, isn't that what we're all here for? To grow, to connect, to love?